It's no secret that society values youth. It also prioritizes looking your best. But sadly, these two have begun to go hand in hand in modern times. It's as if we've decided the only way to look your best is to try to turn back the clock and look younger. And this pressure has been put on women far more than on men. As such, many women in America and globally struggle to maintain their youthful look for as long as possible. And when they start to age, they feel the need to resort to things like Botox and plastic surgery to fight the signs of aging. And while it happens all over, it's perhaps more noticeable in Hollywood, where photos and videos of celebs are constantly floating around. This makes it easy for people to compare and contrast when they see their favorite celebs having work done. Stay tuned as Factsverse presents celebrities who destroyed their looks with plastic surgery. Kim Novack. Kim Novack was a gorgeous actress who thrived in the golden age of Hollywood and beyond. Born in 1933 in Chicago, she began acting in the 1950s and soon became a sex symbol for her looks and curvaceous figure. Her first major role was in the movie Picnic, but her most famous is the movie Vertigo, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Not only did that make her a household name, it also garnered her a Golden Globe nomination. Since then, she's also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, as well as an honorary Golden Bear Award. Because she was so known for her beauty, her career was somewhat tied to it. As such, as she aged, she began to withdraw from the glitz and glamour and scrutiny of Hollywood by the mid-1960s. She's appeared in only a few things in the last few decades, including 1980's The Mirror Cracked and a recurring part on Falcon Crest. She acted in the 1991 movie Liebestraum, but reportedly had such a bad time on set it made her fully retire from acting. Her appearance at the 2014 Oscars turned heads, but not in a great way. She looked quite different from her past appearance, and there was speculation she had been given too much silicone or fat into her cheeks. This type of injection is common for people who want to look younger but don't want to go all the way with surgery. She also appeared to have gotten lip fillers, which skewed her previously pretty smile quite a bit. Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson was one of the most famous models and actresses of the 80s and 90s. She started off as a model, notably posing for Playboy several times. Then she was cast as one of the Tool girls on the hit show Home Improvement. And while many actresses would have perhaps been content to keep getting big paychecks for not that much work on a multicam hit sitcom, Pam chose to leave the show for even bigger gigs. This included her biggest job as one of the leads of the hit show Baywatch. It turned her into a household name, catapulting her to one of the top stars on the planet. Over the years, she steadily changed her looks, going from a natural and fresh-faced model to more of a synthetic look. She had multiple nose jobs, and her lip fillers made her look a bit cartoonish. She supplemented those with lots of heavy makeup and bleached blonde hair. Despite heading in this direction for a while, she's toned down these choices in more recent years and looks slightly more like an older version of her natural, younger self. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan was one of the most successful child actors of the 2000s, charming audiences with her red hair and cute-as-a-button face. Plus, she seemed to have the acting chops that many child stars lack. She grew up on Long Island, and her big break came when she starred in dual roles in the remake of the Disney classic The Parent Trap. After getting a few more starring roles, she cemented her place as a huge star with her performance in the breakout hit Mean Girls. At the same time, Lindsay tried to capitalize on her fame by starting a music career as well. She released 2 albums on Casablanca Records, with one going platinum, the other gold. In the next few years, she starred in a variety of movies, ranging from Herbie Fully Loaded to Bobby and Chapter 27. Sadly, in 2006, she began exhibiting some troubling behavior on the set of Georgia Rule. For the next decade or so, she went through issues with drugs and alcohol, and legal issues too. These days, she lives in Dubai and has made attempts to turn her life around and get her career back on track. She recently signed a deal with Netflix and starred in their rom-com Falling for Christmas in 2022. Lohan's looks have drastically fluctuated over the years, and in the times when she was dealing with drugs and the law, she looked markedly different. She seemed to always be over-tanned and exhausted looking, and has resorted to plastic surgery as well. And she tried to undo the effects of her partying years by using fillers on several parts of her face, which has meant she ultimately looks older than she is. Jocelyn Wildenstein. This celeb is not a big name for anything career-related, but rather for the extreme amounts of plastic surgeries she's had. So it's possible you've never heard her name, but you probably have seen photos of her. She's a socialite in New York and reportedly got her first surgery as a response to the appeals of her husband. He turned out to be a terrible dude, and she caught him having an affair with a Russian model who was also underage. Jocelyn had gotten a taste by that point of the thrill of changing her looks up, and she was hooked. She's had a lot of work done over the years, resulting in her famous cat-like face. She has such a strange look that simply getting plastic surgery has made her famous. She has apparently spent upwards of $4 million on plastic surgery over the years, and her wild look has managed to get her somewhat of a cult following. And perhaps the ferocity of her looks has been matched by her personality as well, because she was recently jailed for stabbing her boyfriend with some scissors. Meow. Melanie Griffith. Melanie Griffith has had a long and stellar career as an actress. She was born in New York City in 1957 to an advertising exec and actress Tippi Hedren. She got her first big break at age 17 in the movie Night Moves, which starred Gene Hackman. Over the course of the 80s, she became one of the biggest names in Hollywood, starring in films like Body Double, Something Wild, and Working Girl. For the latter, she was nominated for a Best Actress Oscar and won a Golden Globe. She managed to keep her success going into the 90s with roles in a variety of movies from Buffalo Girls to Crazy in Alabama to Mulholland Falls. Some of her work was lauded while some of it was panned. But that's true for most actors and actresses who are in a lot of productions. Melanie has continued to work in the last 2 decades, ranging from voice acting in movies like Stuart Little 2 to performing on Broadway in a revival of Chicago. And she showed up on TV shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Nip Tuck. And the latter of those is a little ironic considering Melanie has changed her look quite a bit over the years. She's never publicly admitted that she's had work done to her face, but fans and critics alike presume it to be true. After all, she looks markedly different than she used to, and not simply as a result of getting older. She's been through the ringer in terms of drinking and drugs, as well as a string of failed marriages. So perhaps she's tried to keep a semblance of her youth by altering her appearance. Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan was often deemed America's sweetheart for her many appearances in some of the best rom-coms of all time. In the late 80s and 90s, she was one of the biggest stars on the planet, and she had her adorable looks to thank. Ryan was blessed with beauty in the form of the girl next door vibe, and audiences ate it up. She starred in movies ranging from Sleepless in Seattle to You've Got Mail to When Harry Met Sally. And she was pretty much box office gold for many years. She wasn't just a pretty face either. There are many critics who point out Meg might be the best actress to never receive an Oscar nomination. But sadly, she tried to hang on to those looks with plastic surgery and fillers. She seems to regularly inject filler into various parts of her face, like her cheeks and lips, making her often almost unrecognizable. Because of this, she's had a pretty extreme downfall in terms of her career. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these stars has had the most drastic changes to their appearance? Let us know in the comments section below.